Sitting right here is the best version of the Diablo ever built, the 6-liter VT. This thing is a 2001 blue Hera with 8,000 original miles on the car. You know, it was my dad's turn to do a video this week, but we just got this thing in. I have a feeling it's not going to be around for long. Obviously, the Diablo is the successor to the Countach. I reviewed a Countach earlier this year, almost the same color. I thought it was appropriate to show you guys this thing. So in 1990, they came out with the Diablo, keeping with the tradition of naming each model after a famous fighting bull. They built these Diablos from 1990 to 2001, and there was so many iterations. This obviously being the 2001, kind of the last iteration of the car. So they started designing these cars in 1985, internally named Project 132. And the initial cars in 1990 were very much Lamborghinis. No power steering, rear-wheel drive. The interior was very primitive, much like the Countach. And what's interesting is the Diablos went through multiple ownership changes of Lamborghini, and therefore so many changes. In '87, Chrysler bought the company, and before these things were finalized and went into production, the guys over at Chrysler wanted to round things out a little bit. In their eyes, they thought the wedge design, like the Lancia and the Countach, were a thing of the past. They really wanted to round out the corners on the car, and that's where the Diablo got its look. But really, in my mind, where Lamborghini jumps to the next level of performance and comfort and drivability is when Audi bought the company in '98. And that's where this car comes in. In 2000, they came out with the 6-liter VT. They wanted to change a whole ton of things on the Diablo, and I think that they really wanted to try out a whole ton of different things for the next car, the Murcielago. The most notable is the facelift, the front fascia on the car. The flat snout here, the air ducts in the front, and going from the pop-up to the fixed headlights. This 2001 6-liter VT is so far from the initial Diablo. The initial car was released as rear-wheel drive, but the VT, the viscous traction car, allows for up to 25% all-wheel drive, 25% to the front wheels. Frankly, I think what I'm most excited about on these cars is for what they changed. It's the wheels and tires. They really captured the way the Countach wheels looked, and I think they realized people loved that, and they transformed it into a wheel that was worthy of the Diablo. But you look through the wheel and you see the cross-drilled rotors with the 4-piston Brembo calipers. I bet you this thing stops on a dime, well, at least compared to the Countach. Oh yeah. Scared myself a little bit there. You know, this car really goes, but it doesn't stop all that well. They stuck a giant set of Pirelli P0s on the car, just like the Countach. And this car, 8,000 original miles, these are the original date-coded tires on the car. I think the most iconic and best looking or eye-catching part of the car is really the way the whole rear end comes together. I mean, the thing is just so wide. It's got these very prominent gills relieving the engine of its heat. And I mean, just look at the exhaust. The thing looks like a weapon. The most iconic part of the car for everyone my age? Obviously the way the doors opened. So they started with the same engine, the original Diablo having the 5.7 liter, and then they bored it out. They went to the 6-liter engine. They changed a bunch of stuff. They went to a lighter crankshaft. They changed the timing with a new cam. They changed the ECU. They went to titanium rods. They lengthened the stroke, and they stuck a new exhaust and new intake on the car. All of these changes led to 550 horsepower and an advertised top speed of 208 miles an hour. The engine bay is just so clean, tidy, and tight. The engine just fits in there snugly, and I don't think they could have built out the engine bay with any more carbon fiber. The interior on the Countach and the early Diablos, nothing to write home about. But this car, they made a real effort to make this thing comfortable. As you step in here, the first thing you'll notice on this car, if you've ever sat in a Diablo or a Countach, is actually how much footroom there is in this car. What they did with the 6.0 VT is they actually widened the frame, widened the track in the front, change the suspension pickup points, all giving the driver more footroom and actually increasing the pedal size. During this time, right in the early 2000s or late 90s, carbon fiber was all the rage. This specific car came with a special carbon interior package. There was carbon everywhere. Full carbon dash, carbon on the steering wheel, carbon even in the door jambs. They completely redesigned the dash for this car, and it's very user-friendly. Obviously your tack being the most important right here, but your water temp is right here in the middle, something to keep an eye on if you're pushing these cars in the middle of the summertime. What I love about these early 2000s cars is the mix between the new and old. I mean, obviously all the carbon fiber stuff. You've got the cigarette lighter and the ashtray, something you just don't see in supercars anymore. You've got the external CD loader, again, something you don't really see anymore, but was fairly cutting edge at the time. But I think one of the most important features here is the axle lift. There's nothing worse, I've said it before and I'll say it again, there's nothing worse than pulling into a parking lot, scraping the nose in front of the entire audience who's poured outside to see the new Diablo drive in. You just press the button, lift up the nose, get through the parking lot clear, set it back down, and you're good to go. Now, I think Lamborghini really started to understand that their supercar market isn't really all that different from a luxury market, or there at least is certainly some overlap. So for this car, they definitely made an improvement in the air conditioning. And what was super modern technology at the time was the rear view backup camera. Obviously, essential in this car. You can't see jack out of the back of this thing. Do you need a backup camera in your Lamborghini Diablo? Yes. Do you want one? Also, yes. Well, I think we should fire this thing up. Proper stiff throttle response here too. Now when we're talking Lamborghinis, obviously the Miura has taken off. Those things are worth a whole ton of money, and the Countaches really have too. I think there's still some value left in these cars. These cars are really in that sweet spot between old Lamborghini and new Lamborghini. This car looks enough like the Countach and the early Lamborghinis and has that feel. The next car, that's the Murcielago. Even to guys my age, that car still feels brand new. So with roughly 296 of these things produced and only a handful in this color, this car is extremely rare even by Lamborghini standards. And what makes a car like this so valuable and desirable is the originality. 8,000 original miles, basically original everything, original paint, original interior, original tires on the car. I say it before and I'll say it again, you can't restore your way back to an original car. Our mantra for cars like this that are coming on strong, 90s and early 2000s cars, is to buy good, original, no stories, no questions asked cars. This car still has in the wrapper the car covers and the toolkit. Now we've got the big beefy car cover here. And then of course, the duffel bag here with the yellow Lambo cover. But what I haven't seen before is the full toolkit here. Let's open this thing up and have a look at everything. I mean, these are great, but I don't know about how much dexterity you necessarily have. Little boxes of fuses, Lamborghini box of fuses and lights. Let's look at the tool roll here. Oh yeah, all the original tools. Yeah, that's cool, eh? Got the bull on the 19 mil. What do we have here? Looks like a cigarette lighter plug-in emergency light here. So now we gotta ask, do you need a car like this? I mean, come on, no one needs a Lamborghini Diablo. But do you want a car like this? Well, when we were looking at the Countach, I said that everyone my dad's age had a poster of the Countach and Farrah Fawcett on their wall. Well, almost every guy my age had a picture of the Diablo as their desktop screensaver, and by the time I was interested in girls, we had the internet. But the answer to the question, it doesn't change. Do you want a car like this? Oh yeah. Yeah, you want a car like this.